Well, I've been looking forward to doing this video for a very, very long time. I've been a big fan of Alter Bridge for quite a few years now, probably maybe 10 years since I first heard Blackbird and then Alter Bridge 3, and then I subsequently went back to listen to the early albums and of course the new stuff as well. But Rise Today has always been my absolute favourite song of theirs from a guitarist standpoint, because the riffs and the patterns, and there's just so much in there that's so clever. So I'm really looking forward to running through this with you now. I'm going to start off at the very beginning with this awesome drop D opening riff. The whole thing's in drop D. There's some really interesting chord patterns that turn up later on. And some different variations as well, which we'll run through as we kind of progress here. Anyway, let's dive into the beginning now, and this is probably one of the coolest opening guitar riffs of all time. So it begins with this drop D pattern. It's on an acoustic guitar on the album, but all the live performances that Alter Bridge do are on the electric with it turned down and quite quiet to start with. So we'll do it like that just because that's how it's done live. And also you're not going to get the acoustic and then change over if you're playing along with this. It's just not realistic. Everything's the same though about that, whether it's played on electric or acoustic. Let's start off with this open drop D string. We're alternate picking here as well. A few videos on that, by the way, if you're interested, but let's start here. I'll run you through the notes that we're using first. So it's like a D shape in root position without the top note. So it's just your first and third finger playing these notes. And then you're going to play this. And then a C in the root next. And then there's this sliding pattern. And then it goes back again, and it's played round 6 times. So let's run into it from the beginning. So pattern number 1. So make sure, crucially in this, that if you're alternate picking, that you're going to skip the A string. So that's fairly straightforward. Then you use your second finger. And then you're doing a C variant of that. But then the second time you're going to play an open B string. And you're going to use that open string as a chance to slide up, or with your second finger, onto that 5th fret, which is not an A in this case because it's dropped down, it's actually a G. And the reason why it's a second finger is because I think that Miles Kennedy, when he plays it acoustically, has a slide on his third finger. So to keep that slide there, I think from habit, he's used the 3rd to the 4th fret slide on that bottom string as a second finger, because really it would be easier to do it as a 3rd. In my experience, but second finger is what he uses, so that's what we're going to do. And then you're back into your original pattern. So what happens above that is Mark Tremonti comes in with a very unusual pattern high up here. And then he uses the 4th finger so that's the 14th fret with your second finger with an up pick, the 15th on the B with a down, and then an open string like that. A little bit like Mr. Brightside actually. And then reach up with your 4th finger. So the sequence is 4 of these, then 2 of these, and then 2 more of these. So that gets played in on the second time round of the underneath pattern. So. and then that's the first time it comes in up there. On the second time round. That gets played along with the main kind of opening bottom riff 5 times over the 6 times of that, so it kind of lines up in the end. Also, just worth saying, it sounds like it's on the bridge pickup with a lot of distortion, so it's a bit more like this for the sound. Just to give you a little flavour of what's going on there. We're about to hit into the kind of main chorus where things get really, really loud here. This is an interesting drop D chord just before we get there and just before we pause this video. So you've got this 3rd fret chord here, which is like an extended chord here. Because you've got the drop D, you can do this. And then it comes up to the 5th fret with the same chord, and that's where it gets the volume loud. So we'll run through that chorus in the next part of the video, and then the Miles Kennedy version of that chord is this 5th one, which I've never seen before. I don't play much in drop D tuning, but it's a 3rd finger on the 5th, muted next string, 2 opens, 1st finger on the B on that 3rd fret, and a 5th fret with a 4th finger. And then the volume goes up on his as well. So once you've done this slide down on the 12th frets, you're hitting this D here. Now there's 2 ways of playing this. Miles Kennedy plays it with the pure D, whereas Mark Tremonti plays the full chords at the bottom. We'll stick with the Miles Kennedy variation for various reasons, but it's a kind of more simple version, and he gets the first solos later on as well. But you're doing a D chord without the top F sharp, so just, and Miles Kennedy used his thumb a little bit just to mute the bottom strings. The pattern is like this, and then next you've got this C chord. Again, Mark Tremonti does that up here, but we'll go for the Miles line. When you're doing this last bit before you change chord, the note isn't really that heard because you're moving to your next chord, which happens to be this F. So it goes a little bit like this. So this next bit is played with a 1st finger barring across all those 3rd frets, and then a 1st finger moves here. You can also use your thumb to mute the bottom string again. The next bit is Miles Kennedy's chord with this 5th here. Talked about this one in a previous video. 3rd finger on that 5th fret, 2 open strings. 3rd fret here, 5th. That's Miles's part as we run it through. Mark Tremonti, interestingly, when Miles Kennedy does this kind of G to the D drop, Mark Tremonti does this, and he's the only guitarist who does that, which is super interesting. So let's just run it through one more time. This is the Miles Kennedy line again, from this turnaround section. Now you hear over the top this pattern that we've had before from the beginning. Just before we get into the next part where it kind of continues to be heavy. The first little solo lines. There's a really cool slide up that Myles Kennedy does. I'll just grab my little slider here. He usually does it on the mic stand and he just goes. It's really cool. So let's get into this bit then. It's super fun. First things first, you've got these chords that we've been practicing before, and as I mentioned a few times, Myles Kennedy doesn't play the bottom two strings, so he just does this. Whereas Mark Tremonti has the whole shebang. And he does these extended chords. So he has that kind of fuller sound. We're going to get into our first solo line as well here, but let's just go through Myles Kennedy's part, which I am following mostly throughout this tab. So you've got this D power chord here. Now there's a muted, palm muted note here, which sounds really crunchy. I like to play it with the picking pattern that's there. I've seen Myles Kennedy do that in a live performance as well. So you've got the mute the third one onto the up pick on those third barred frets. Then you're going to this C chord. Myles uses his thumb to mute the bottom strings just in case you get a bit excited. And you're hitting it pretty hard, which you will be. So that's the pattern. Make sure you use those open strings to change to this A chord, which we've discussed in our last video. And then you've got those three notes again while you move into the first solo position, which is really awesome. I'll just play it for you once, just so that you can get an idea of it. So how this works is you pre-bend to the 10th fret from your 8th fret with your third finger. So it's a quick down as well, quick release. Slowly bend up, and I've seen Myles live as the vibrato gets a bit more epic. He does an up-down pick, so it goes like this. And that vibrato is pretty epic, pretty wide. And then you move up and down while he picks, actually. So this is how he does it live. Like that, while the hand moves along the neck. And then you're landing on this 10th fret, but it's pre-bent to the 12th, so... And then you rise to the 13th. So then release all down picks there. First finger on the 6th. Alternate picking there, so down up. And then this is all one move. Pre-bend to that 9. And then you've got this little pattern here. Not too difficult. Down, up, down, up, down. If you can try, that's actually a nice note to land on here, on the G string, which is your 19th. So we're returning to the power chords here. We've got this D again. So palm mute that third D. And then you continue over to the C. That's Myles Kennedy's lower guitar line. The Mark Tremonti does this octave pattern. So that's worth knowing as a variation. It goes back to Myles's line here. And then it goes up to the A, which I would just encourage you to play either in the standard Mark Tremonti style or the Myles Kennedy like this. back into that chorus section, and it's got a little, Miles does a little flourish, a little bit like Brian May tends to do. If he's playing a chord, he doesn't just go, he goes. So Miles does this like Queen and We Will Rock You, actually, which I've written on the tab there, but it's like this. There's also that variation in brackets above, which goes, which you can hear as well on the album version, but you don't tend to see much live. We're just going to run through this bit because it's very similar to what we've had before. So we'll just carry on here because it's just chords. I've written down the specific picking patterns in front of you, and you can follow that along with the record as well, but we'll just play through here. So you can do that there as well. Or you can just play the bottom version of it, which I prefer. Again, there's that guitar 2 line there, which is this extended chord. And then we're continuing. So this is the section just before the change up here, and it's done with the first finger, actually. I've just reminded myself, so it's up here. So it starts off palm muted, which is why it's down picks. We'll get to that in a second, but just to run you through this palm muted section, so it goes like this, and then it releases. And then the last one you actually move, so you can play it as an open if you want. I really love this bit. I think this is one of my favourite bits of the whole tune, to be totally honest with you. It's this kind of change up that follows the muted 5th fret barred. So let's just deal with this jumping up section first. There's 2 guitar lines here. We'll start with Miles Kennedy's, which I didn't realise was what he was doing until I watched him live. So you've got this 8th fret barred with the first finger. Then he plays this note with a bend, which I never realised. Pretty tough to play as well, actually. So hit those 3 notes. Hit the 8th fret with your first finger with a down pick, and then an up pick as you bend the 10th with your 3rd finger into the 12th, and you keep the 8th down. Whereas the Mark Tremonti line is, he does this 8th fret, but with the extended pattern that we've seen before. And then he jumps up with actually a 1st and 4th finger. So those are your 2 lines. Then we've got this really odd chord, which I couldn't work out until I slowed down an acoustic version of what on earth was going on here. So this is Miles Kennedy doing a 5th fret, muting the next string, open G, and then a 5th fret again, and then he changes that up to a 4th fret, so and then it goes like this in the second guitar. This is the Mark Tremonti line again, which is weird. Then we hit this brand new riff, which we're going to run through now because it's epic. So it's drop D, and it's all down picks. I thought there's a 4th finger in here, but it's all 3s, 2s and 1s. I thought it went like this. It doesn't. They actually move between the 3rd, 2nd and 1st fingers here. So down. So on the bottom string, open 6th and 5th fret. then third and fifth. Now this bit's the fiddly bit, so once you've got that down, so this is the fiddly pattern here, and actually a lot of times when they're playing live they just go like that, and you just never really hear it, but this is the true way it's played, like the record. So down and then up with a pull off on that fifth to third. There's a little bit of a fiddly pattern here, so this is picked down, up, pull off, and then up. So that's an up with a pull off, down then up with the pull offs each. Then it's a down, up, down. The pull off the end. So the quick version is. So the real one to make sure you keep picking is the string crossing here. That's the hardest one to remember to pick. It does make sense. I think it's a really neat little turnaround there. We're back up on this 8th fret. And then back to this Miles Kennedy unusual chord here. And then the solo interrupts here, so on the live versions you see Miles kind of go, and then he comes away and gets ready for the solo bit. On the album obviously it carries on. Let's go to the solo section in the next part of our video, but that's just the lead in. So this is a weird one. We've had the Miles Kennedy special chords. And this is what I think happens here in the solo. So you go to your 8th fret and you bend to the 10th. So it's a bit of a kind of, and you sort of drop it down to the it's still the 8th fret bending up, but you're hitting the 9th then. And then you're coming back up to the 10th. And then I've seen Miles play this with this bit anyway, with a finger and the pick. So and what he does is he also slightly bends the 4th finger up, so everything's getting gradually more bent. There's a few options to what I think happens next. It's either a jump up to the 13th fret, bending to the 15th, and then a slide from the 18th, and then down from the 20th. Or it's a bend up from here, and then a slide up from here, which might be the best option here. Final option, 13th, and then just over to the 13th fret here with a slide and some reverb. Then we're back to this pattern which we've had in the previous video, and then we go back to this unusual chord. Same again. Now the guitars drop away here, and there's a lot of production stuff that's going on. You've got an acoustic guitar which is doing this C shape. Then you hear you've got a slide after that bit as well, which is like this. You can do that with a slide if you want as well, but I think with the delay and the reverb it actually will sound kind of okay. And then just to carry on with the tab here, you've got a muted section that's just those 2 chords like that onto page 5 of the tab. And then you've got the original variation of this Miles Kennedy G chord. Back to the chorus. We'll just run through this bit as well because the solo's coming up and it's pretty tough. So we'll just run through this final chorus here. Then we go to this 3rd fret here. And then we're on to this chord again. And then we've hit it. Finally, we're on to page 6. This is next level difficult. The picking pattern as well, try and follow along with the right hand and the left hand as well, because it does make a huge difference to how this is played. So in the solo itself, there's wah, delay and reverb. Now Mark Tremonti doesn't use the wah that much, but the delay is quite a key to the sound. I've got reverb on at the moment, but I've left the delay off just so that you know what notes we're playing here. So there's a droning section to start with, which means a note that sort of holds in the bottom. That's the D. And this is the gist of what we're aiming at here. This is played on the 11th fret with your 1st finger on that G string with the droning D just below it. Start with a down pick and then put your 2nd finger on that 12th fret and go up pick. Then down pick with this. So there's 4 notes like that. And then you're doing another up pick. That 1st finger slides down from the 11th to the 9th. And then you do another up pick with the 4th finger on that 12th. 4th finger moves. So that's that pattern again. Then an open D. And then this is where it starts getting cool. So you've got the 9th fret here on your D string. Down, up. And then you do this move here. And then you're doing a 12th fret after that with the 4th and 1st finger. Sliding up here on your G string, technically from the 10th fret to the 17th. Nice and quick. And then you slide down again before you move up into your next position. This is a really cool pentatonic shape here on the 14th fret. So 14th with a down pick, this is alternate picking by the way, 14th, 17th, 15th, 18th, 15th, 17th, and then this is a down pick with a huge bend to the 20th, and then you move down here to the 13th. Interestingly, the picking pattern is not what I would do here, so it's 2 down picks on these massive bends, then it's an up on this 13th, down and then up again. Quite actually nice once you get there, but release the 17th to the 15th with an up pick. And then up, down, up, down, up. Vibrato on that, and then you slide down and come up to the 10th here. So double that 10th on those top 2 strings, up on the B string with that 10th, on the 1st finger obviously. Then you're using a 4th finger on this 13th. And then this is the weird one, 2nd finger, bend up this 11th fret. It's really cool, but really unusual. And then you'll sort of use that 3rd finger, which is already pre-bent, an up pick and release to the 12th. So, and this 10th that bends just following that. It's a bend away from you situation. Then you slide up after this. That's kind of the end of the 1st phrase. You do a sort of dead pick, and then from the 6th to the 14th. And then this is the really unusual section again. There's a lot of unusualness in this, but it's these kind of replacement bends. So the 16th bends to the 17th with the 2nd finger. Then the 17th is played straight after it. So you do 3 of them. First one, 2nd one, 3rd one, and then it's 2 up picks. So that's fairly straightforward to there. A little bit of sliding on that first finger. And then it's an up. And then this is where it gets very slidey. This is all in one movement. I'll do it slowly though. So 13, 17, 13 in a hammer-on pull-off situation. And then this is a... And this is the little trick, I would say, that makes this solo really cool. Now, you've got to stretch your hand out quite far, so you're looking between the 10th and 15th frets here with your first and fourth fingers. So this is an up-down with a pull-off, and then a third finger bar with a pull-off, and then again. And this is a different one, so you do an up pick. And then this is where it gets really interesting. So it's like an extra note. Double 15ths with a down up, pull off, and then an up pick here. And then it goes into a very slidey bit after that. So it goes. So that's quite a stretch. And then you're doing a third finger on that 13th. Make sure you follow the picking pattern as well, especially for this. It's up, up. Now, if you've got a whammy bar and lots of feedback, I don't think you actually do come up for the next note, which I've written out in the tab. I think that Mark Tremonti actually just does this. But what you hear on the record is... So if you don't have a whammy bar and you want to jump up for that 15th fret, then go for that. And then an easy end. And we've hit the end of Rise Today. I mean, it's fun to improvise on this solo, but it's also one that's actually genuinely worth learning note for note, especially the trick phrase, which is hard. Might give you a bit of inspiration for kind of those fluid lines that tend to come along with this style of solo. But thanks for watching this series. I hope you enjoyed it. Do subscribe if you want more Alter Bridge. Comments in the section below and let us know what you want to hear next. But in the meantime, peace out to all the other Alter Bridge fans, and we'll see you in our next video.